Hello, traders. Welcome to Simpler Trading. My name's Melissa, and I am here today to talk to you about your trading brain and how it can sabotage our trades. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can come into the day with perfectly laid out trade plans, and then something happens. Once I'm in those trades, all heck breaks loose. I break all kinds of rules, and what turned into a well laid out plan often I look back on it and it didn't exactly go to plan. And I want to share with you today three main reasons why that happens, and then some things that you can do to help combat those psychological things that happen in your illogical side of your brain. So, if you're new to simpler trading, first off, welcome. You have found a place that is full of dynamic traders. Not only are they giving awesome trade alerts, but also each trader here at Simpler is committed to your educational journey along the way. So, welcome to Simpler Trading. I trade here at Simpler in the Trendy Trading Room and SPX room, and invite you to join me and watch my trading partner, Trendy John, and I as we trade live every single day in those rooms. And of course, are committed to educating you along the way. We're actually in the middle of a really cool 30-day account challenge where we are doing all kinds of bonus sessions on education and trading psychology. I do a session after each day in the market where I review my trade journal for the day, and it has been awesome so far. So I invite you to join us in the trendy room if you're interested in finding a community of traders to not just trade with, but to learn and grow with. So, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and then I'm going to get started with today's session. All right, so give me a second to get that shared and get this presentation on the way. All right. You've done the research, you've built a solid trading plan, you know exactly what you need to do. But then the market makes a move, the adrenaline kicks in, and in a split second, you do something that completely ignores your own rules, a decision that costs you. You've ever felt like your own brain is sabotaging your trades? You aren't alone. In fact, you're fighting a battle every single trader faces, and today we're going to break down that battle. Let's be honest, the trading world is flooded with promises of perfect strategies and can't lose indicators, but the uncomfortable truth is that the most successful traders don't have a secret formula. What they've mastered isn't the market, it's themselves. Studies and broker data consistently show that the vast majority of traders, somewhere between 80 and 95%, fail to make money consistently. And it's not because their strategies are all terrible, it's because of what happens between their ears when the pressure is on. I know this because I've lived it. When I first started, I thought I was smart. I had a plan, my charts were marked up, and I was ready to print money. My first big loss didn't happen because my analysis was wrong. It happened because after the trade went against me, I got angry. I felt that the market had personally wronged me, and I jumped into a much bigger revenge trade to make it all back fast. You can probably guess what happened next. I blew up that account. That painful day taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. The biggest risk in trading wasn't the market, it was my own emotional, irrational brain. The problem is, we all have two brains, the planner brain and the fighter brain. Your planner brain is the logical, rational you. It's the one doing weekend analysis, setting trade rules, and creating a brilliant trading plan. But the moment you enter a live trade, a different part of your brain takes over. The fighter brain, driven by ancient, powerful emotions like fear and greed, it hijacks the controls. It couldn't care less about your plan. It only cares about immediate survival and instant gratification. Today, we're going to expose that enemy within and give you the weapons to fight back. So let's get started. Your fighter brain uses a predictable set of psychological tricks to sabotage you. These are cognitive biases, and they're the hidden architects of nearly every trading mistake you've ever made. Let's unmask the three most destructive villains. Villain number one is loss aversion, the fear of being wrong. Behavioral scientists have proven that humans feel the pain of a loss about twice as strongly as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. In trading, this is a catastrophic flaw. This bias is known as loss aversion, is that little voice in your head whispering, just hold on a little longer. It'll come back. It's what makes you watch a small, manageable loss bleed into a devastating one. I remember starting a trade. My plan was crystal clear. If the price broke below a specific support level, I would cut my loss. The price hit my stop loss, but did I close the trade? Nope. My fighter brain took over. It's just a fake out, it screamed. Don't take the loss. You'll look stupid if it reverses. So I held on. I even moved my stop loss further down, giving the losing trade more room to breathe. That trade didn't reverse. It crashed right through my original stop, then my second, and ended up costing me big time. My rational planner brain knew that a loss is just the cost of doing business, but my emotional fighter brain couldn't stand the thought of realizing that loss. It preferred the hope of a comeback over the certainty of a small professional defeat. This single bias is why traders let losers run, turning a paper cut into a mortal wound. If fear is on one side of the coin, greed is the other. Greed is what turns a perfectly good winning trade into a loser. It's the high octane fuel of overconfidence. You're in a winning trade, it's approaching your take profit target, and everything is going exactly to plan. Then the fighter brain kicks in again. Why settle for this? It asks. This thing is a rocket. Let's move the target and make a real fortune. We've all been there. You have a solid trade that's up a good amount. Your plan says take the profit at a key resistance level, but the candles are big and green and the momentum feels unstoppable and you get a rush of euphoria. You cancel your take profit order, deciding to let it run. For a moment, you feel like a genius as it pushes a little higher, but then the market does what it always does, it reverses. The price comes crashing back down, blows past your original target, and maybe even stops you out at break even or for a loss. Your planner brain had secured a logical, high probability profit, but your fighter brain, addicted to the thrill of more, gambled it all away for a fantasy. This is pure greed, and it's a systematic destroyer of profitability. Now, let's go over the third villain, FOMO, the fear of missing out. Is one of the most powerful and destructive forces in trading. It's that primal anxiety that everyone else is getting rich without you. You've seen it on Twitter, and it forces you to make terrible, impulsive decisions. FOMO is why you jump into a trade long after the ideal entry is gone, usually right at the top of a big move. You see a chart rocketing up and your fighter brain panics. It abandons all rules about price structure, confirmation, and risk to reward. Its only command is get in now. This usually means buying at the worst possible price, just as the early smart money is starting to take profits. The result, you buy the peak and the market immediately reverses, leaving you holding the bag on a position born of pure impulse. You didn't trade your system, you traded your anxiety. Right? There is a study on investor behavior that consistently finds the average investor dramatically underperforms the market. And a key reason is this kind of emotionally driven, poorly timed decision making. Chasing the market is a guaranteed way to become exit liquidity for the disciplined traders. And I don't want that, and I'm sure you don't. So, if your own brain is the enemy, how do you defeat it? You can't just eliminate emotions, but you can build a system that makes them irrelevant. You give your rational planner brain the power and put your emotional fighter brain in a straitjacket. Here are the three essential weapons to First is a pre flight checklist. No pilot would dream of taking off without a detailed written pre flight checklist. Your trading plan is exactly that. It's a non negotiable set of rules you create when you're calm, logical, and rational, when your planner brain is in complete control. This document is your constitution. It must define in black and white exactly what your entry criteria are, where your stop loss goes, where you'll take profits, and how much you'll risk on any single trade. When you're in the heat of the moment and your fighter brain is screaming to break the rules, you don't have to think. You don't have to decide. You just have to execute. Your trading plan is your objective boss. Is the setup on your checklist? Hey, if it is, then yes, take the trade. If no, you don't. It's that simple. By externalizing your decisions into a written document, you strip your emotional brain of its power to make impulsive choices. Now, let's talk about weapon number two, the trade journal, your after action report. Every great performer, from athletes to military leaders, obsessively review their performance. Your trade journal is your game tape. It's where you become your own coach. For every single trade, win or lose, you must log the details. But don't just log the numbers, you need to log your emotions. Write down why you entered. Write down how you felt when the trade went your way. Most importantly, write down what you felt when it went against you. Were you anxious, angry? Did you feel the urge to move your stop? Over time, your journal will reveal the hidden patterns of your fighter brain. You'll see things like every time I have three winning trades in a row, I get overconfident and take a dumb fourth trade that gives back all my profits. This self awareness is your superpower. By identifying your specific emotional triggers, you can anticipate and prepare for them. The journal transforms your mistakes from painful losses into priceless data. And I like to tell traders in the trendy room, don't just journal after the trades. Be sure that you're journaling before the market ever opens. That way, you have an idea of what you were thinking before the opening bell and before you've seen the actual price action. That's very important. Weapon number three is position sizing. This might be the most powerful weapon of all. Nearly all destructive trading emotions are amplified or even created by risking too much money. If you're watching every single tick of a trade, unable to sleep, feeling sick to your stomach, it's not because you're a bad trader. It's because you're risking an amount of money that is psychologically too big for you to handle. Your risk per trade should be boring. It should be an amount that if you lost it, it wouldn't phase you in the slightest. For most, this is between a 0.5% to 2% of your trading capital. It can even be up to 5 to 10% of your trading capital. When the amount of money at stake is insignificant, your fighter brain has no reason to panic. Fear and greed are dialed down from a deafening roar to a manageable whisper. Proper risk management isn't just about protecting your capital, it's about protecting your mind. That's the shield that allows your planner brain to stay in control and execute your strategy flawlessly trade after trade. The journey to consistent profitability is not is not about defi sorry, is not about finding a magic indicator. I want you to understand that. It's about defeating the psychological villains. It is an internal battle that happens inside of each one of us. It is you versus you, not you versus the market. For years, you've probably been letting your emotional impulsive fighter brain call the shots and sabotage the logical plans laid out by your brilliant planner brain. But that can end today by building and honoring a strict trading plan, dissecting your psychological patterns with a trade journal, and protecting your mind with proper risk management. You change the entire game. You stop being a gambler reacting to emotions, and you become the cold, calculating CEO of your own trading business. You empower your rational mind and finally put your worst enemy to work for you. Mastering this is the final and most important step. So, now that I went over that, I would love to open this up for discussion because it's cool to learn what the villains are, you versus you, right? But I want you to think with me for a moment. Think back to your last trade that you had a solid plan for, but then you broke all of your rules. Maybe it was fear. Maybe you didn't execute a perfect setup because fear set in and it caused you to not execute the trade. Or maybe it's greed. Maybe you had a perfect entry, you got in the trade went to your target, but greed set in and you felt the need to keep a hold of those profits because it was going to the moon, right? And then the market reversed because if you have a good target, that is where you're expecting the market to reverse, right? And instead of getting out, the greed took over. Your irrational brain was calling the shots, and what was a great winner then turned into just a break even or maybe even a loss. I don't know exactly what that is for you. I had an example. Let me share a chart with you. I had an example just yesterday that um I didn't allow my emotional, irrational brain to stop me out of the trade. And it actually, I followed my rules, but this trade was a loss for me, but if I had broken my rules, and this is important here, if I had broken my rules, it would have been a winner. And so I was left with a feeling of, gosh, I wish this one time, right? This one time I had broken my rules. But at the end of the day, what I wrote in my trading journal for yesterday was even though the trade could have turned into a winner, I still won because I followed the rules. So let me talk about the trade. And I don't know why Toss is bugging out. Sorry. Maybe it'll stay in place. Nope. Give me a second. My toss has been acting weird for the last few days, so I'm not surprised by this. All right. So here was the trade. The box that you see on my screen, that red box there, that's the PMZ indicator, and it is an indicator that I use for day trading. And then I had a stop down here at 679.55. That was a predetermined level. I increased the risk on the PMZ just a little bit here because of these bottoming wicks where buyers were showing it up pre-market. So I took the trade right here. Okay. And the rules of a PMZ trade are this: you want to go long. For me, that's buying calls above the PMZ. And then a stop or a candle close below my stop is a stop out. So those are the rules: going long above the PMZ, and wherever my determined in advance stop is at, when there is a 5-minute candle that closes below that stop, that's where I stop out of the trade. So I did this to perfection. I went entered above the PMC and I stopped out when I got a 5-minute candle that closed below my stop. I took a loss on the trade. It was $214 loss, I believe, on this trade. But look, what would have happened if I'd broken the rules and stayed in the trade? Eventually, what this trade would have worked out in my favor. And so we had a long discussion in the trendy room because the trade ended up being a winner. But what I explained was, guys, look, I understand that it was a winner. And it was also a winner if I had taken this loss and then re entered the trade right here. That would have been a winner as well. But what I explained to the room is this: in the past, I would let this exact scenario influence my decision on my next trade. And I would break that rule because I would think back to this trade that I took a loss on, but it could have been a winner. I would think back to that trade and I would think, oh, you know what? Remember yesterday when you took that stop and then you took a loss that was a winning trade at the end of the day? And then I would ignore my rule. But you know what happens on the next day? Let me show you. It goes something like this. It goes like this. And, here's our area of the market today that buyers were stepping in. And if I was long above the PMZ here today, and I thought back to my trade yesterday, right? That it turned into a winner, I would be sitting here right at this candle that closed below my stop, and I would go, oh, you know what? Let's move my stop down to this next level on my chart. And I would move my stop down, and then I would get a close below it, and I would think, oh, well, that's okay. I'd be really mad at this point, right? And I would move it down to this next level on my chart. And then before I would know it, this contract would be worthless. And I would be sitting here, what could have been a paper cut has now turned into basically a max loss. That's why following my rational brain and my trade plan each and every time is what keeps me profitable year over year, because it is a battle within my own 2 ears. And the best way that I have found to win that battle is to have a trade plan, a non-negotiable trade plan that regardless of what emotions I'm feeling while I'm in a trade, I don't deviate from the trade plan. I follow the plan over and over again. All right. Number 2, utilizing a trade journal. Every day. Every day I write. I guess you can't see it very well, but I write in a trading journal. Every day before the market opens, I write down my thoughts. I write down my emotions. I write down whatever I'm feeling. I write down what the market looks like at that time, right? During the middle of the day, after the day trading window, first 60 to 90 minutes, I write more in my journal. And then at the end of the day, I write in my journal. And I don't just write it and then never look at it again. You must review your trading journal because at the end of the week or 2 weeks, going back and reading your journals, you will probably see some common patterns that happen. And what I want you to do when you see those common patterns is I want you to write it on a sticky note, kind of like this, and put that on your trading screen so that you look at it each day to remind yourself of what patterns were showing up in your trading that you need a reminder to not fall victim to. And then, of course, the position sizing part. I trade with an allocation amount that psychologically, emotionally, I can handle. If the unforeseen were to happen and that trade were to go to zero, if I were to take a max loss on a trade, I would still be able to trade the next day from an emotional standpoint and a capital standpoint. Taking a few trades losses in a row wouldn't wreck my account. All right. Those are the things that I believe if you can master those three things, it is a game changer, all right, in your trading journey, in your profitability. It's a game changer. Having a great strategy, having great indicators that make life more convenient is awesome. I have a great strategy that I trade. I have awesome indicators that I love to use. But the most important part of being consistent is having your rational, logical brain in control while you are in your trades. Mitch Mash says, my biggest enemy has been, yeah, but it might. Learning, acknowledge that voice, and still follow my plan has been a tough journey. I hear you. I really do. And I believe if we're honest as traders, that it's a tough journey for everyone. I don't think anyone is truly immune from that, Mitch Mash. But what I would encourage you with is to use those 3 weapons against that psychology, against that emotion that you feel while you're in trades, right? And learning how to silence that voice of, yeah, but it might is so important. And those 3 weapons are what you can use to get better and better, trade after trade, day after day, month after month. So, thank you for sharing that struggle that you have. I appreciate that. All right, guys, my time is up here, but I want to thank you again for joining me. Again, if you're not a member here at Simpler Trading, I encourage you to hop on the train and join us in one of our trading rooms where you will find not just those of us that are on the mic, but also all the traders in the room are very supportive, engaging, sharing trade ideas, giving encouragement and support. Trading is a very lonely journey if you don't have a community around you trading with you. So find your community and then let's all grow better and better day after day and trade after trade. I hope you have an awesome rest of the week, and I will see you in the next video.